It is also important to me that we have inclusivity when it comes to child refugees, and that's why I want to raise Amendment 1 and also speak in support of new Clause 14 and indeed Amendment 2. In October, I asked the Prime Minister to tell us what had happened to 178 children that her government had been notified of who would qualify under the Dubs Amendment to come to our country but had gone missing from France. 6 months on, I am still waiting for a response. But those 178 children are just a fraction of the 10,000 children who've been reported missing in Europe through the refugee crisis. Of 120,000 unaccompanied children have since come to Europe since that in 2015. These are orphans. The Dubs Amendment is designed to help those children, and we agreed as a House that we would do our bit for them. But what kind of bit are we doing? Because 350 equates to 0.002% of all the unaccompanied child refugees in Europe. Now, when we debated Dubs, we talked about 3,000 children. 3,000 children would be just 0.025% of children. It is right that people are concerned about what other countries are doing, that we hold the French and indeed the Greeks and the Italians accountable for their treatment of these children. But when Turkey is taking 2.8 million Syrian refugees alone, how can we hold our head up high if we not do our bit as well? And the Dubs Amendment is about doing our bit as well. New Clause 14 is explicit about safeguarding the children who have applications for transfer. Those are the children in the camp now. And yes, I agree with the members who talk about pull factors, because the pull factor is safety. It is Afghan children running from the Taliban. It is Sudanese children running from rape and murder. It's Omaro children running from political persecution. Indeed, they are pulled to our shore for safety. Closing the Dubs scheme will not stop that pull factor, but it will make the traffickers the most attractive proposition those children have. And crucially, Amendment 1 and New Clause 14 identify our responsibility to involve them in the safeguarding process and involve not just the Home Office, but also the Department for Education. That's also where Amendment 2 comes from. How can we hold our head up high as a country when the UN Committee on the Rights of the Child repeatedly tells us that we are not doing our duties by asylum-seeking children? When it explicitly says the Department for Education should play a stronger role in how we treat these children? When, if we don't have agreement in law that the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child doesn't just cover the children in this country, but every child we seek to safeguard, including those in the camp identified in the statement made by the Minister in November, creating a two-tier system for some of the most vulnerable children in the world. And I ask the members opposite, who I know share a concern to do the right thing by these children, to think about what that says about us as a country if we think some children not old enough to be accountable for the horrors in their countries, are less worthy than others of our help. Yes, this is messy. Yes, it is difficult. Yes, times are tough. But Britain, at its best, has always stood up to the world and held its head high and said, we will play our part. The Dubs scheme was us playing our part. Closing it prematurely when our councils are saying they want to help, closing it prematurely when there are children who are safe in this country as a direct result, speaks ill of our character as a nation. And I hope the members opposite will reflect on that and vote accordingly to send a strong message to this government that we must help those children, because not helping them will not stop them coming. It will simply leave them rotting in the mud in Calais or in Italy, in Greece, still on all our conscience.
A few more contributors, I hope. Sir Edward Lee.
I beg to move my